Hello, and welcome to the K-Share presentation from Group 5 of the ISYS 5173 Blockchain Fundamentals class of summer 2020. Presenters include Graham Brown, Morgan Smith, and Mary Sarner from the Sam Walton Graduate School for Business at the University of Arkansas. When I was 12 years old, I heard a news story about a cold case in Pulaski County that was solved after 15 years. My mother sat me down that day and told me the cold case was about my cousin Jessica, who disappeared in 1987. Jessica was 13 when she disappeared from her home in North Little Rock, Arkansas. 2 years later, a skull was discovered nearby on the Camp Robinson base. Due to errors at the state crime lab, the skull and other bones found were determined to be Native American bones, several hundred years old, and sent to a museum in Arizona. It was that year, 2003, they retested the remains and Jessica was finally returned to her parents. She was buried in the family cemetery near my hometown. Partly because of this, I developed an interest in true crime, listening to the stories of people vanishing into thin air, mistakes made by law enforcement, and cheering for cases that were solved after going cold. I also wanted to learn about the facts behind these kinds of cases, and what new strategies and tech could help solve more of them. According to Project Cold Case, a cold case is any case whose probative investigative leads have been exhausted. In the United States, there are about 34% of all cases that are unsolved. This unsolved rate varies between geographic regions. According to the FBI, it varies between agencies as well. I wanted to know why. In my research, one of the challenges I learned about in cold cases is data sharing between different law enforcement agencies. When a crime scene is investigated, patterns are important to look for as it can lead to clues as to what happened and who did it. In the case of repeat offenders, clues tying the crimes to a person or together can be the catalyst that solves the crime. But if these cases happen in different jurisdictions, the cases won't be linked if these agencies don't share information. Even worse, another agency may have information that exonerates the suspect. This can increase the risk of an innocent person being charged with and convicted of a crime they did not commit. This knowledge inspired us to develop K-Share. We are an Arkansas-based group that wants to help our law enforcement agencies reduce their unsolved case rate. We've created a blockchain application that allows agencies to share data and take advantages of the benefits of enterprise blockchain, like improved security and consensus protocols and solid, immutable data transactions. Law enforcement agents will be granted user access to the system via a web portal, negating the need for major software upgrades in order to run the application. The user can then search the database for different types of records and specific information within them. The portal will display all documents matching the search. There, the user can request access to the file. A message is sent to the data owner with the request. Depending on the information sharing agreements between the two departments, a smart contract will execute the conditions of the agreement. Once access is granted, a transaction file is created within the blockchain. Agencies with operating nodes, or computers that are set up to verify the transactions, will add a copy of this transaction to the ledger. The transaction will trigger a file exchange, and the user has the document they need. Our code base is built from Hyperledger Fabric, a model used by several Fortune 500 companies, including IBM and Walmart. The distributed node network across different agencies creates multiple uneditable ledgers that must match in order for a transaction to be approved. With this and modern cryptographic algorithms, the program is almost unhackable. Smart contracts can be used to maintain regulatory compliance. And most importantly, it creates a system with transparent operating procedures, encouraging compliance and improving obstacles for corruptive and unethical behavior.
Our research into other competitors came up empty when it came to law enforcement that were currently using blockchain solutions. The interest is definitely there and the industry recognizes the potential, but it just hasn't been implemented yet. Similar to K-Share, though, are applications like Leonovus Evidence Locker, which seeks to accomplish the same goals, but this is more of a cloud-based database than a blockchain solution. Other government-led solutions include the FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services, or the CJIS division, that currently serves more than 1 million users in 18,000 organizations. The CJIS exchanges information with its partners and offers statistical services that span the criminal justice community. Some of those services in particular are the Law Enforcement Enterprise Portal and the Uniform Crime Reporting Program. The LEP is an online gateway providing law enforcement agencies, intelligence groups, and criminal justice entities centralized access to resources to aid case development and enhance information sharing between agencies. The Uniform Crime Reporting Program has developed and provided statistics describing crime rates across the U.S. since 1930. Another competitor is the National Data Exchange, but none of these programs are using blockchain. The National Data Exchange also has problems of its own. It was launched by the FBI as well in 2008, but has been riddled with issues. Along with its high price tag, this seemingly useful tool is still in use by 23% of law enforcement agencies, and the Fusion Center databases that are meant to record suspicious behavior have come under fire for recording acts that wouldn't necessarily count as anything wrong. These issues come along with others such as political pushback, like with the Fusion data centers, civil liberties violations, distrust of the database security, and overall disorganization.
CaseShare will begin with transferring all current information relevant to law enforcement activity onto the blockchain by first working with the Arkansas Division of Information Systems. Once the division has successfully converted to the CaseShare system, we will then move the state-level agencies like the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, followed by the sheriff's offices, then local police departments. In total, our goal is to have each of Arkansas's 367 agencies and all of 11,000 employees in law enforcement using the application. Decision-making within CaseShare will follow the same hierarchy that the current systems follow for storing and sharing data within law enforcement. Decisions will be made from a federation standpoint, allowing decentralized groups to specialize on parts of the project while coordinating with a central group to integrate solutions. CaseShare will transform the processes of sharing data throughout law enforcement agencies by simplifying, improving, and speeding up the sharing processes. With trusted and immutable data, arrests and convictions will be able to be made confidently, and the quicker the police are able to confidently arrest a suspect, the higher the chances are in preventing future crimes. Additionally, CaseShare can eliminate the extensive time and effort often required to obtain case information. Trials are often rushed, and defendants are often persuaded to agree to a plea bargain. Easy access to evidence and data can help speed up the trial process and ensure defendants get the proper representation. Finally, as we have all witnessed lately, with the ongoing protests against police brutality, law enforcement does not have strong support throughout the community. Adopting a new secure and accountable process to store and exchange data will show communities that law enforcement is anti-corruption and focused on justice. In the future, CaseShare could be utilized by outside groups like a community-based oversight committee, by victims or family members of victims who would like a platform to check the status of their cases, or by users who would like to generate a Freedom of Information data request.
In terms of value delivered from CaseShare, it comes down to time, money, and trust. The amount of money that we pump into law enforcement agencies is a hot topic in America right now, with more than $115 billion being spent on police in 2017. A majority of this money is spent on salaries and the corresponding overtime because officer demand has increased. 911 calls that don't require armed assistance cuts into time that could and should be spent other places. When an officer can't complete his duties within a regular day, it requires the city to either hire more officers or civilians, or the officer starts working overtime. In Los Angeles, a study done by the controller, also the editor and chief accounting officer for the city, found that city employees received more than $2 billion in overtime in the last 5 years, with $479 million alone being spent in 2019. Our cities need officers in the streets keeping them safe, not being burdened by paperwork. With CaseShare, we hope to eliminate some of that demand and bring us a step closer to keeping millions of dollars away from salaries and overtime pay and into areas that need it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity for our team to present CaseShare. Among the many advantages of implementing an immutable crime data sharing service, including speed, accuracy, accountability, and accessibility, we believe that the most important benefit to the CaseShare application will be the gained trust from the Arkansas community. In a statement made by a New York police officer, Vernon Gaberth, regarding technological and scientific advances, Vernon states that if there is a distrust of the police themselves and the system, all of these advances are not going to help. CaseShare's main objective is to streamline the way case data is shared among law enforcement agencies. This is done by creating an immutable history of case data, recorded and shared. The transparency that CaseShare can provide for the Arkansas Department of Justice could instill a new sense of trust within the police force. CaseShare can transform the way civilians interact with the police, ultimately leading to more respectful relationships and a more productive work environment.